but I usually think about the first line before we start it. And I find with public speaking too, that if I have my first line, then I can kind of rip it afterwards. But I guess today what we'll start with is me talking about how I don't know what we're going to start with. So welcome back to the Obvious Choice podcast. Talking about rules for controlling email and phone usage today. Because email isn't really a task, it's where tasks go to accumulate. And no matter what, I promise the world didn't spontaneously combust overnight. Whatever's waiting for you in your inbox can wait. Whatever social media message is waiting for you can wait. When it comes to phones, though, I don't feel like discipline can work. A lot of the common advice that I hear about controlling phone usage comes down to discipline. I don't believe that discipline can work. I think that they're designed to be too addictive. I think they're designed to hack our primal brains. And so I think that we need to control them with a series of rules and structures and not discipline, because I think that our discipline will naturally fail over time. I think that we have to control them or they will control you. So here's some rules to become less passive with your phone and email. The first one is just leave your phone at the door. What's inside your house is more important than what's on your phone. Don't let it enter the home. Set up a charger and a comfy chair at your door, and when you come home, plug in the phone at your door. Then use your phone as much as you want, but it stays at your door. Most of the time, you'll be too lazy to get up and walk there in order to mindlessly scroll social media. But if you really want to do it, you can. Children, if you have children, should see you in control of your technology, not letting your technology control you. If you want them to be responsible with your screen time, you must be responsible with your screen time. Do it for them, and also do it for you. This is one of those rules that I find that I follow when I'm in a good mode and that I don't follow when I'm not in a good mode. Whenever Allison and I settle somewhere, we set up a charging station by the door. Inevitably, after a week or two, one of us brings our phone inside of the house or the condo or the unit or whatever we are, and we come home and the other one sees us in bed mindlessly scrolling social media with the phone. That's what I'm doing right now, and the reason why these rules are so useful is because now that I've read over this rule again, I'm saying, you idiot, you have not been as present as you should have been. Get back to how you want to be. And so when I get home today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug my phone in by the door, and I'm not going to let it leave the door. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scatter books around the condo so that wherever I sit, if I have a spare minute and I don't want to think about what I'm thinking about because I want to distract myself from whatever I'm thinking about, I can at least reach for a book.
I have puzzles and coloring books for that reason.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Because I have to keep my hands busy as part of like helping when I'm in that, like I need to get rid of my thoughts kind of thing. I can't
That's what she said.
sit still. Yeah. And so coloring and puzzles are super helpful for that.
Play the song, please, Amber.
Oh man. I don't find it.
Play the song. Coloring's key. I never colored. Fun backstory. I was told unceremoniously to not participate in art class in high school.
Wow.
The last art class that I ever had to take. You know, you have required classes, and then at a point you can start to choose more and more of them. So the last art class that was required, I was actually told by the teacher that if I don't participate, she'll just give me a 75 because I was making her class look bad.
Wow.
So, of course, I never wanted to do art again. And I did get a 75. I think I was also probably just acting up and talking and distracting people. I don't think it was just my art. As you could probably imagine after listening to this podcast for a while, if I don't want to do something, I very much don't do it. And that was always kind of the case with me. And so in school, in a class that I did not do well in, that I not care about, I probably was not the best student to have in the class for the teacher. So sorry about that. But Calvin, of course, draws quite a bit. And so he'll often ask me, he'll draw something and then he'll ask me to color it in while he goes and draws something else. And so I do it, and I actually find it very cathartic to color
It is.
inside his like Pokeballs or whatever he's drawing. So maybe I'll color a little bit more. I don't think I would draw, but maybe I could color a bit more.
No, drawing requires too much thought and judgment comes with it. Coloring is less judgmental.
Do you get those like adult coloring books?
No, because I hate them. I do kids
Oh my
coloring
goodness,
books.
that was intense.
No, so like I know. I hate most of the adult coloring books. They're too
Why?
complicated. I want just big spaces. Like the kids coloring books, they're simple. I
I
don't want to
see.
have to think about it too much. I just want to color in the damn little fire truck
So
or
do
the
you
little
search
penguin.
on like Amazon? Do you search on Amazon like the suggested age range? What age range do you go? Like 6 to 8?
No, I don't search that way. I just put in
Okay.
coloring books and do it that way.
Got it. Yeah, the adult ones are pretty intricate, right?
Yeah, they're small. Yeah, I have to think about it too much. I don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
it sounds hard.
Yeah.
Aaron's got like a book of suns and a 64 pack of yellow crayons.
Right.
She just colors suns all day.
Yeah.
Book of Suns for Yellow Lovers by Amazon.
It's funny.
I actually am going to create a coloring book. It is on my to-do list. I have a plan
Nice.
for a coloring book.
I love how comically over intensely you responded to that question. No! Do you have any idea how small the spaces are in between those lines, John? I do not have markers that are fine enough to color in those lines. John,
Markers are awful.
I do not I cannot accept coloring over the lines, and so I have decided to get coloring books of little penguins that are for 8-year-olds. As a result, I knock those out of the park. You should see the coloring that I do inside of these coloring books for 8-year-olds. I nail it.
So that's about as authentic of a reaction from me as you get. So now you understand how much I have to be careful about how when I do talk, because that is often how I am about most things. And
You
so I have
should.
to cut it back a lot.
I love people so much that are just so unabashedly themselves in all of the weirdest ways.
Yeah.
They're like,
you are a
yeah,
rarity.
no.
You are a rarity. I've
I
been
love
teased all my
cheese.
life for it.
I love cheese and pasta, and if I'm going to order a pasta, I'm going to ask for extra cheese, and then if it doesn't have a lot of cheese on it still, I'm going to ask the waiter for extra cheese to be able to put on my pasta that already had cheese on it, and I don't care how much you charge me, I want that cheese. Like, I love eating meals with people like that. You know, I don't like eating meals with a person who's like, oh, maybe I'll get like I don't know, maybe I'll get like a tilapia and like a salad and ask him to put like the dressing on the side. It's like, bitch, you don't actually want that, you know?
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. The
Stupid
internet
white
says
fish.
it's not real fish. Yeah.
Well, that's what Ren said. When it was our friend Raj Law every year put out my favorite post on Thanksgiving weekend. This guy never posts on Facebook or social media ever. And then he shows up once a year on Black Friday. And all that he writes is, every week is Black Friday to me. And then he just goes away for another year.
Love it.
That's so perfect.
And all that I can think about is, I think he says every Friday is Black Friday to me. I feel like you need to like show up one day and just like stupid white fish. Just that's it. That's all you post.
Just randomly. I love the patience that he utilizes to set up that joke. That's why it kills every year.
It's so funny. It's like, oh, where you been the last year? It's like just chilling.
He's not
just
breaking
waiting.
character at all. He's going to stay in the
bit. Weeks pass. November hits. He starts, yes. He writes it into Facebook 2 days before just so he doesn't forget, so that all he has to do is wake up and hit publish. He sets on his phone, you see like 4 different alarms to remind him in case he misses the first one.
Black Friday post tomorrow, 12:15 p.m. That's so perfect.
It's so great. Len, I have a question for a black guy.
Okay, all right. I'll answer it if I get music.
Yeah. Do you feel weird asking for foods that are like the black version of food? Like, if you wanted fish, would you ask for like black cod, or do you just say I want cod?
Well, John, that's interesting because I've been tracking a phenomenon
Go on.
online.
Yes.
There's this group for people who own Jeeps, and
Yes.
there's some confusion because it's called Black Jeep Owners, and several Caucasians have showed up in the group thinking I own a black Jeep, only to
Yes.
find out it's for black people who own Jeeps, not people who own black Jeeps. So I think that I would feel absolutely comfortable asking for like black cod or blackened shrimp,
Right.
things of that. And in my case, even caramel, salted caramel ice cream. I feel comfortable with all the spectrum of my various seasonal hues,
Got it.
John, if I may use the word hue.
Mm. Okay.
Hue,
Well,
of course, not HUGH. That's a
I
person.
look forward to the cookout. Okay, let's move on.
But were you invited though? That's the question.
Len has
John's
invited me
perennially
many
invited.
times to the cookout.
Perennially invited to the cookout.
Len has invited me many times to the cookout.
Got to the point where we can't have it without him now.
Yeah.
So the cookout doesn't happen if he doesn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
Who all over there?
They're gonna be sweet tea over there.
The sweetest tea, the elixir of the gods. I'm sorry,
Who
the
was I
elixir of
with?
Black Jesus, sweet tea.
One of the conferences I hosted in Toronto, I remember I was out with Nick Tumanello like beforehand. I guess he came in the day before or something. And he asked for sweet tea at the restaurant in Toronto. And I just remember the waiter looking at him and be like, you mean like
What?
iced tea? Like, what are you talking about? It's like, no, sweet tea. It's like, I could put sugar in it if you want.
There will be sweet tea, and there will probably be 3 or 4 cousins with the same name.
Good.
Yeah, have you met Sweet Tea? Sweet Tea, come over here. I will, man. But who all over there first?
Who all over there?
What does Nick? What does he know about Sweet Tea?
I mean, he
I
lived in the
need to do
South.
some research. Where did
Do some
he first encounter Sweet Tea?
It's fair. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I have no segue. Here's the next rule.
We messed that up.
The next rule is say I love you to the person lying next to you when you wake up before checking your phone. And the reason is simple. It's because they are important and your phone is not. Okay.
Ooh.
Let's look at the next rule is don't put your phone on the table. When you set your phone down at the table, it sends a psychological message that the people you are with are not the most important people to you right now. Flipping it upside down is not more polite. Keep it in your pocket and put it on airplane mode to take away the temptation of knowing that there's a message when you feel a vibration, or better still, put your phone in your bag out of sight. If you are eating meal with friends, do not put your phone on the table. There's this phenomenon now with restaurants. There's actually, I've been to some where they have like the tables designed where there's actually a hole in the table. And what you do is everybody takes their phones out and puts it in the hole in the table. And then the waiter comes and he or she covers the hole with like the missing piece of the table.
Wow.
I always like
Or
that.
Jeez.
you can have all your friends put all of the phones on the table, and whoever picks up their phone first to check it has to pay the tab. There's an alternative.
Clever.
Clever. Very clever. Have you guys ever played credit card roulette at dinner? I feel like this is just something. This is just something that like, whenever I'm out with, I don't know, entrepreneur friends that are all just trying to show each other who is the biggest balls, they, after we talk about how to save as much money in taxes, then they all
Obviously.
try to pay the bill because they all want to like show that they're the alpha, right? And I'm like, yo, you're good. I'm fine with this.
Go alpha.
Yeah, have fun living in Puerto Rico and pay my bill for my fucking noche. Like, I'm fine with this. But then they end up playing credit card roulette, and so they like take all the credit cards from each person and spin them, and then they fan them out. One person fans them out to the server, and the poor server has to pull out the credit card. And I just say to them, I'm just like, don't pick the green one, and so they know not to pick mine, right? Because I don't really want to be involved. Because I'm quite happy to not pay for the meal, of course.
Right.
I don't need to show that off. It's so interesting how whenever you're out with people who have money, all that they talk about is how to save money or like how to make more money or how to pay less taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll sacrifice huge amounts of qualities of their life in order to pay less tax, for example, and move to like tax-free havens or pick up their business and move it to like a lower tax state. And inevitably, all of them come back within a couple years, and they can't really explain why. But I can tell you why. It's quite simple. It's because of something that I've realized after spending a lot of time in different places of the world, which is every single person pays the same amount of tax. They just pay it in different ways.
Mm.
And I think people who are so obsessed with money don't realize this.
It's an
Okay,
interesting statement.
next. Similar to the one at the table, don't hold your phone while talking. Like if you're having a conversation with somebody, don't hold your phone and wave it in the air. When you hold your phone when you're having a conversation with somebody, that's a visual cue that the person that you're talking to isn't as important as your phone. It's really easy to, I don't know, not hold your phone and like put it in your pocket. Simple things, but amazing things to remember if you want to improve the quality of your life. And I like having these written out, even though they're obscenely simple and obvious, because it's pretty hard to walk outside or to a restaurant and not see phones on the table. And you see people that are hanging out with each other, but like they're not really with each other. You know what I'm saying? And there's a buzz of the phone, and immediately you can tell that their attention is like brought away, even if they don't check it. And you may as well just like not be with the person. If you're going to be with somebody, like this is Whales and Minnows, right? This is the cover of the Obvious Choice book. Free or expensive, show up or don't. Just don't do anything in between. If you're going to be there, or don't be there. Like both are fine. But if you decide to be somewhere, you should be there. And I'm saying this is a guy who is not always there. I'm not perfect at this, of course, but having rules like this written out help remind me. There was one of them the other day that we spoke about on this podcast, and I have to scroll up. I can't remember the exact rule, but it was basically like if your kid talks to you, acknowledge them right away. Like even if you're on your phone, even if you're doing something, acknowledge them the minute that you hear their voice, even if it's to say, "Hey, I hear you. Let me just finish this up, and then I'll be with you." And um, I'm not very good at that, admittedly. But what was interesting is that last night, Jaden talked to me. And, when Jaden talks to you, like, you don't really know whether what he's saying is real words yet or whether it's just like kind of mumbles. He probably thinks they're real words, but they might not be real words. So it usually takes a fair bit of energy to make sense of what he's saying. And because his brain is growing a mile a minute at this point, you have no idea what he's thinking about. I mean, it's just he's thinking about so many different things and developing in so many different ways that it might not be in any way related to something that he's doing right now. He also hasn't figured out yet something that kids figure out when they're like 7 or 8 years old, which is that the state that they're in right now or the state that they were in before might not be the state. Like what they know or experienced previously isn't something that might have been experienced by every single person else who exists in the world. And so Jaden will be like telling me something or asking me questions about something that existed when he was hanging with my parents. And I was not with my parents, but he won't make the connection that I don't, of course, also know what was going on.
Right.
And so anyway, so it takes some energy. But I was with him, and because I had spoken about these rules on this podcast that day, I was doing something on my phone. I was writing a message to somebody, and I heard his voice, and I typed a couple more letters, and then I remembered I was like, no, the minute you hear his voice, acknowledge him. And I looked over at him, and I made eye contact, and I just said, hey dude, let me just finish typing this, and then I'm with you. And it made such a difference. It made such a difference. He's like, And then I finished typing the message, and then I was 100% with him. And that's why, as obvious as some of these rules might seem, I have found that I need constant reminders, even though I'm the one who wrote them. Next, set your phone to black and white. Social media videos are hella boring in grayscale. Your phone should be boring. Your phone should be a tool. If you want to watch Netflix on your phone, for example, like I watched an episode of The Office last night, sure, turn it to color while you're watching that episode. But day to day, on any given day, make your phone black and white because by definition, it's boring and awful to look at. It's a tool. It should be used as a tool to serve you. Removing the color removes some of the addictive nature of it and the enjoyment and the joy and the dopamine hits from it. And as a result, then, if you decide that you want to spend 10 minutes and you want to mindlessly scroll social media as a break, hell yeah. We learned that, Amber, from the episode with Dr. Gloria Mark on attention span. Actually, let's recommend that episode at the end, if you don't mind finding the number of that one. But Dr. Gloria Mark is a professor of informatics at the University of California. And her focus is on maintaining attention and focus in the age of technology. And one of the things that she talked about is actually how useful it can be to engage in mindless rote tasks. Games like Candy Crush, or I like doing physical breaks. Like I'll go outside in between video meetings, for example, and like rake leaves for 10 minutes. But sometimes, scrolling social media is fine. But you need to have a limit on your time, and it should be looked at as a break. And so if you decide that you want to spend 10 minutes to whatever, check in on what your friends are doing on Instagram, that's perfectly cool. Do it in between calls, whatever, set a timer for 10 or 15 or 20 or even 30 minutes, whatever time you want. Just give yourself a limit. Put the color back on. Have fun. Enjoy it. All right. And then take the color off. Again, I do not believe that we can rely on discipline with our devices. I believe that devices have been engineered to hack our primal brains to be so addictive and so pleasurable and so distracting that if we don't go out of our way to remove some of that and put rules and restrictions in place, I believe that they will control us and they're no longer a tool. And I'm not willing to accept that into my life.
As an alternative, I
What's that?
find instead of having the app on your phone, is accessing it through the browser, because they don't optimize the experience on the browser. It's such a terrible experience to use it.
Right.
10 minutes max. Like you just can't handle how terrible it is.
Right.
So that helps. And also I delete social media apps once I'm done. So like I need it for work because it's easier for me to do certain things from my phone on Facebook, like responding to someone, especially like audio notes and stuff like that. It's just easier. Or sending myself screenshots for Quick Coach or whatever. But then I delete it as soon as I'm done with work. And so I'll install it for what I need. I do the thing and then I delete it right after.
So I don't delete it, but what I do, I don't remember where I heard this. I don't delete it. Maybe I should. I actually kind of like that. Especially because now, I'm making an attempt to do something that I've been trying to do for a very long time, which is actually never log in to social media. It's not a platform audience optimization exercise. It's actually a quality of work optimization exercise. I am increasingly of the opinion that success online is actually a lagging indicator of doing good work in the real world. Its usefulness most often is a way to amplify the good work you're already doing, not enable you to do good work. And so, I kind of have a choice. It's like spend a lot of time inside of, let's say, Instagram, like I used to. Right. And like I did admittedly to build up my audience originally on there, like in order to build up an initial audience on there, you probably have to spend a lot of time. But once you do, it may be useful to remove yourself to some extent. And so it's not an optimization exercise. My audience there is not growing day to day. They're more so being maintained and primed for, call it, the next leg up, which for me, in my case, is book releases, right? But it's lightning strikes. It's basically prepping yourself and focusing on really, really good work that you're going to launch. Maybe it's a new coaching group or offer or whatever that you're going to launch, once or twice or 3 or 4 times a year. In Ren's case, right, he does rolling cycles with his launch. And so my goal right now is actually to never be in there. I'm using Twitter mostly to network. But I haven't logged into Instagram for over a month. And so I have a team posting on there. And again, my account is not as good. It's certainly not as engaged. There's no growth in terms of followers. But what I've been doing in the back end is I've been prepping behind the scenes for a big book launch. And so I wonder then, Amber, whether it makes sense to actually delete the app on the phone. What I do and how my phone is always set up is my home screen is just like a picture of people that I love, like it's me and my kids, obviously, but just a picture of people that I love. I see people doing this if they don't have kids with like maybe a pet or parents or whatever. But it's people they love. And then I don't have any icons on the home screen, not one. And the reason for that is mindlessly, the phone has kind of become like an extra appendage for a lot of us. It feels weird to be without it. And often I'll reach for my phone without even thinking and I'll flip it on. And if there's icons there, I might tap on one of them, right? But not having them on my home screen means I see somebody that I love, which is a reminder of where I should be spending my time. Yep. And then in order to do something on my phone, I have to swipe over to the next page of icons. It's not a lot, but it's that littlest bit of effort to say, hey, do I really need to use this? If I'm mindlessly, as a way usually of distraction or, to be honest, of social avoidance, do I really need to look at this and do something? I found that that's helpful.
You might put them. So there are 2 other things too. There's now they offer on iPhones like a hidden folder, so you can't see what's in it, and then it's locked. Or you can set up screen time stuff, and so where you actually get locked out of certain apps once you've hit a threshold, or you are only allowed to access them at certain times based on a schedule that you create. Yeah. So those are other options too.
Yeah, I don't think the accessing at certain times would work for me, because then I would feel like I should or have to access it at certain times.
Yeah, but for some people that like to do things like on a schedule that need that more structured, that might work.
Yeah, some people, as you know, I am not structured in any way, but some people like you are more structured. Together. Yeah, it's funny how it's funny whenever I work with somebody new. Like I'm bringing on a lot of people as like personal brand. I've kind of, part of we presented on my wealth philosophy a number of episodes back, 4 pillars of wealth. And since, because I've added one more, I'm actually starting to look at reputation and personal brand as an asset to invest into on the same level as stock market, Bitcoin, real estate. I'm actually looking at it in the same way now. And so I've started to invest a lot more capital into it, and we'll see how that goes. It's, again, a very long-term approach. It's a savings account approach. It's an investment approach. It's not an immediate return type thing. But of course, so I'm bringing on more people to help me with that on almost like my quote unquote like personal brand team. It's authorship profile, whatever. And what is interesting about that is everybody who comes on, they're like, oh, like there's always spreadsheets or there's always like documents involved in Notion documents. And I'm just like, I just want you to know something. I will quite literally never, like, I'm quite happy for you to use these things. I will never click on this link. Like I'm just never going to open it. Okay. Moving on. This is more into email. Using folders, using filters. I don't agree with checking your email and responding top to bottom of all of the emails. Instead, what I do is I create folders for each kind of task. Again, remember, email is a place where tasks go to accumulate. It's not a task in and of itself. And so I have a number of folders and organize my email. For example, receipts, invoices, inquiries, whatever. And your folders might be different than mine, but the point is that your brain my brain can then stay in one place at a time. I find it very mentally taxing to jump from one line of thinking to another one. Like if I'm going to like pay an invoice and then respond to an inquiry and then try to book a podcast, for example, that's three distinct different ways that my brain needs to think, three different mental schemas or blueprints that my brain needs to pull up, three different potentially supporting documents, my calendar, for example, my banking website that I need to pull up. And I find it very, very taxing to go in order. But it's quite easy for me to batch all of my podcasts in one folder, and then I have a task. It's like, okay, I'm going to schedule all of the podcasts that I want to schedule in one go, or pay all of the invoices in one go. So what I try to do is create as many automated filters as possible to get new emails out of my inbox and into each folder. Barring that, what I do is when I see an email, what I'll do is I'll actually go in every so often into my email and I'll just organize it. And each one has tags. For example, I have a tag called need to pay because I pay people at the end of the month. So no matter when anybody sends an invoice, they get paid by the end of the month. But people send invoices whenever they send invoices. And so what I'll do is the minute that I get an invoice, I just tag it as need to pay. It automatically removes it out of my inbox into the need to pay folder. And then I just have a task on my calendar the last day of the month to go through the need to pay folder and just pay everybody in one go. So process your email first by organizing it into folders, then process each folder individually. Less bouncing around.
Sorry.
What's that? Let me just finish this one sentence.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Less bouncing around from topic to topic, for me, means less cognitive load, means higher efficiency, and means less brain fog at the end of the day. I have 100% noticed that the amount of brain fog at the end of my workday that I feel is strongly correlated to how many different things and how many times I switched between things over the course of that day. Go ahead, Amber. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
I actually wrote an article about this because all of the people that I talk to struggle with this so bad. They'll share screenshots of having literally 11,000 emails or something like that sitting in their inbox. Oof. And it kills me. And so, Oof. That's it. This is such an important one, and one that I do like you do. And I use multiple inboxes as well for things that are top priority. So it gets shuffled not only by label and disappearing from the main inbox, but it can also be put into a different side inbox to help me prioritize my time. So when I get emails from you or someone else on the OTA or OTM team or something like that, it goes to that inbox. So I know all of your guys' stuff goes there. So I don't miss it. And some other ones as well. So yeah, I love this in particular. This is a big one.
Maybe link that in the bottom of this episode, that article. Yep. Another one similar with email is new subject, new email thread. And so on a similar note, right, messy inboxes kill willpower, sap energy, waste time. So I'll give you an example. How many times have you received a message that looks something like this? It's to you, subject, your client, or from your client, and the subject is my program, right? Hey, you, yes, thank you for the information about my program. I understand. Now, what are your thoughts about this other unrelated thing? I have this question about nutrition. I have whatever. So the original message was about the program. That conversation is finished. The person now has started another conversation about something completely different. The previous email thread about the program is finished. By hitting reply, you're creating a messy inbox, and it makes it really, really hard to track back conversations. So what I recommend is that instead of replying to the same email, open a new one and send it to them with a subject line reflective of the other thing that they asked about. And then answer their question there. Every new topic that's asked about gets a new subject line and therefore a new email thread. all that this does is it keeps your client conversations organized, makes it way easier to track back different bits of information in the future. And it also helps you sift through your inbox when you log in, because every message subject aligns with the topic that it covers. Way, way easier to manage your inbox over time, especially if you use that to communicate with clients. On email again, another rule, touch it once. Amber, play the song, please. This is pretty simple. If you view an email or a message and you decide that you're going to deal with it later and place it back on unread, that's common. You're not alone. Don't do this. If you touch it, deal with it. Amber, play the song. If you can't deal with it yet, snooze it so it leaves your inbox and comes back at a later date. Amber, the song, please.
Oh.
For the record, you can always change your mind. It's never too late. Just for extra clarity.
What's the Amber? What's that episode with Gloria Mark? What's that number?
It's episode, I think, 187. Oh, of course,
That's
Spotify.
That's your segue to that question.
Yeah, 187. Boosting productivity with well-being.
There you go. What do you want to do about? What do you want to do about it, man? What do you want to do about
I don't know, Dr. Gloria Mark, but I apologize to you, man, wherever you may be in this continent or any. I'm sorry that we segued you from 3 consecutive penis jokes.
Episode 187. Enjoy. Talk soon. Much love. Bye-bye.